So YouTube's saying this is where I left off, so I'll just have to trust in YouTube right now. Hope it don't lead me astray or
Eyes
nothing.
closed, holding to the peace of rest just a little longer. I was alive, and I felt uninjured. Even the headaches had gone away. I wanted to stay like that just a little while longer, because waking up meant returning to my life, and that meant pain. It also meant friends. I had no desire to stay asleep forever. Just a little while longer. A few minutes. It's all I wanted. The noises around me were strange. Gravelly voices, the clopping of hoofsteps, and the high-pitched whine that had been ever present throughout my childhood. The Alcorns had set up a trap. A scarily clever one, too. When I had fallen into the reflecting pool, the Alcorns had observed how I dealt with traps by using my telekinesis. And this time, they had not only anticipated it, but used it against me with a trap that attacked me faster through my magic. The realization was terrifying. I had no idea why it didn't work. They should have killed all of us. My eyes opened to the overly familiar sight of a stable clinic ceiling. Wait. What? "Welcome to Stable City," rumbled the voice of a stallion standing nearby. His eyes glowed as his broad body shambled towards me, the filthy evening cloak on his back having melted into his skin. I looked around. The architecture hit all the familiar stable notes, but every pony around me was a Canterlot ghoul.
Cool.
The ghoul stallion stopped, drawing my attention. "Now, we've treated you and your friends. Consider that on the house for the show your party put on yesterday. We in the Stable City are willing to extend the benefit of the doubt to any pony who those monsters hate so much." He reached up a fetid hoof and tapped my horn warningly. I could see he wore pip-buck. It was melted to his flesh just like mine.
Whoa,
Only
what?
This had a broadcaster attached.
When the
One
fuck
that
that
had been
happened?
switched off. But only so far. The broadcasters in the foyer keep those monsters outside. Most of us have taken to wearing them as well, in case we need to step out. He saw my eyes widen. "Don't worry. None of us keep them on while we're inside. The static is highly annoying, unless we're on guard patrol, or unless you give us a reason to. One wrong step and every citizen of Stable City becomes walking death to you living folk. So you and your breather friends behave now. Clear?" I nodded. Very clear. "Now, I believe there's someone who's been waiting," the ghoul stallion began, only to be cut off by the sound of a squeal from Velvet Remedy somewhere nearby. "Oh, seems to have found your other unicorn first," the ghoul concluded, but I had already jumped down and was racing through the clinic, dodging between ghouls. I slid to a stop as I spotted Velvet, then trotted forward, feeling a warm smile break across my muzzle. She was sitting up in a medical bed, her face full of joy, with firelight dancing gleefully through the air around her.
Yay.
"Good day, gentle ghouls of Stable City, you miserable rotting slabs of ambulatory meat," the floating robot called out, greeting random citizens of Stable City as they passed in the hall. Calamity walked beside me, having found the hallway of the stable too confining to fly in. The ghouls gave us an odd and curious look as they passed. "Lil Pip, you lost part of yourself," Calamity was saying. I looked down at my pip-buck foreleg, and a pained frown immediately swept over my muzzle. I forced myself to smile. More like added something, actually. "Don't you use specific details to muddy the issue," Calamity warned. "Truth is, a loss like that pains a pony, and I'm not talking just physically. And it ain't brave to pretend you ain't hurting inside. It ain't smart, neither." I stayed silent. "When Velvet Remedy lost her leg," Calamity recalled, "she was a right mess, even after we got her back on." "Sorry, Calamity," I chuckled wryly, "but I don't think I'll be indulging in the same therapy." "Don't be a Manicore's backside, little Pip," Calamity said crossly. "When we get out of here, we need to get back to Ten Pony Tower, and y'all need to spin." "No," I barked. I looked at Calamity, his wings up and eyes wide, clearly taken aback by my abruptness and the strength of my refusal. More pleasantly, I complained, "We've become experts at not getting what we need to do done. After Candlelot, we go straight to Splendid Valley. No more delays, no more side quests, no more distractions.
But side
Get the
quests
damn
are the
job
best!
Calamity didn't speak for a while. In the background, I could hear the robot saying, "Hello, ma'am. I do hope the morning finds you in good health." As if that could ever happen. We rounded the corner and found ourselves looking at a stable atrium. The place had been renovated to hold a plethora of shops and small stands where Canterlot ghouls traded goods and services for bits and wares.
Like, what? How?
As we stared
With
down the
who?
stairs, Calamity asked me softly, "Are you okay, little Pip?" It was a stupid question considering the conversation immediately prior, but I ignored that as I heard the concern in his voice. "I'm weary, Calamity. I'm getting worn out," I admitted dourly. "I need this job to be over, to get out from under this threat, this mission." I looked up, scanning the stable city marketplace. "Then, after that, I can rest. Maybe when this is all over, I'll just lay down and take a nap for a century or few. But not before." We reached the bottom of the steps. The place looked like a right lively little necropolis.
Cool.
The only thing that struck me as missing were any sort of diner or foodstuff vendors.
Yeah.
I suppose ghouls didn't really need those, though. I was suddenly keenly aware of how hungry I was, and how long it had been since I'd eaten. "How about you?" I asked in return as we approached a store labeled Caliber's Guns and Ammo. "Me? I'm doing..." He paused as I turned to him, and pointedly raised an eyebrow. "Oh, 'tain't fair throwing my own words back at me." "Hey, I didn't say anything."
You were
He
thinking
neighed.
it.
Then, brushing his brow beneath his desperado hat, he admitted, "I ain't doing so good, actually. I keep thinking about them bandits back in Abu, and the ponies up at Buckland Cross." He frowned. "Now, the bandits I can rightly live with. According to the old man, half of them came from Abu, but they were still bandits. They were still ambushing a merchant." He looked at me. "And y'all think being a bandit is downright noble step up from being what folks in Abu were. But from my perspective, the moment those folks in Abu started killing folk for their meat, they weren't no better than bandits." I nodded. My own feelings were considerably different. But my horrific actions in Abu voided any validity those feelings might have had.
Oh, fuck off.
"But Buckland Cross, that's a different matter entirely." Calamity shook his head, nickering bitterly. "We went there demanding something, and ended up killing him for it." That... My jaw dropped. "Calamity, that's not how it went down at all." We tried to negotiate. They fired first. We were trying to get something they didn't need to give to ponies who were suffering without it. We had something to trade, and were trying. They risked their elder's life. We weren't raiders. "Ain't it?" he asked me,
No!
clearly unsure.
What the
Ain't it-
fuck is with all this fucking weird-ass attempt morality to get you to think about your actions? It doesn't work! Not on me! Because I know what went down. I'm not the anime protagonist who, like, doubts himself. I'm like... No!
Need just a little how that went down. I stomped, shaking my head. "No, that's not how it went down, Calamity." Still unconvinced, Calamity stepped up to the door of the weapons shop. "If you take from the rich and give to the poor, you're still a raider,"
Oh, fuck off.
he said as the door slipped up. "No," I said firmly. "You're not. A bandit, maybe, at best, but not a raider. And you know better." I couldn't believe my kleptomaniac Pegasus was arguing this.
Yeah, what the fuck?
"Some would call you a hero." Buckling Cross had to be disturbing Calamity deeply for his thoughts to have plunged into such uncharacteristic and messy logic.
Yeah.
Maybe Velvet was right, and we all needed years of therapy. Stepping into the store after him, I put a hoof on his shoulder. Then, not knowing how else I could help, I hugged him. "Not in my shop." The little dead colt behind the store counter coughed in disgust. "If you're looking for that, it's 2 floors up." The colt shoved the missiles across the counter to Calamity. "1 or 2 of these anti-armor missiles are pretty much guaranteed to take down an alicorn's shield, and make a very pretty mess of the winged bitch inside. He looked at what Calamity was offering in return. Leave it to Calamity to not only retrieve all of our weapons and supplies, but to go through the garbage for anything else that might be good for trade. This all get you 5. Toss in one of those magical energy weapons, and I can give you all 8.
No, they
Calamity
need that
raised
to
an eyebrow.
upgrade their shit.
He was no Velvet Remedy, but he had fair bartering chops of his own, and I could tell he thought he was being snookered. 3 missiles don't equal a top-of-the-line magical energy weapon, not even if they're all fancy as you claim they are. The Colt bit. Oh, they are. One of the benefits of living in the Ministry of Wartime Technology. We have all sorts of toys you living folk haven't even heard of. I was willing to bet he was right. I was also willing to bet most of it was either in questionable prototype stages, or stocked in too limited a supply to sell.
Yeah.
So if these work so well against alicorn shields, then why haven't you used them against the alicorns? I asked reasonably. It had not been hard to glean that the ghouls of Stable City had been fighting with the alicorns since they started showing up in the Canterlot ruins about a decade ago. From the impression I got, the ghouls were losing, and were now effectively contained in the ministry they called home. The Colt frowned. 8 missiles ain't much use against a few dozen of those winged bitches. That magic rifle on the other hoof, that can rack up quite the kill count over a couple years of sniping. Calamity whinnied. Well then, sounds to me like the rifle's worth all 8. But I'll give it to you for 6, and we'll just come with the element of generosity. The Colt made the trade, although from his expression he'd been calling Calamity quite a few other things shortly after we left. Now, what do y'all have for rifle ammo? The Colt shook his head, giving a snorting chuckle. Sorry, can't help you. If you want ammo, you'll have to look elsewhere. Calamity blinked, then made an exaggerated act of reading up the store sign. I thought the name of the store was Calibers, Guns, and Ammo. How do you not have ammo? You only sell 2 things. Ha ha, the little ghoul said dryly. My ammo's all stored in an ammo vendor for safekeeping. Only the damn thing is busted and I can't get it to dispense. So no ammo.
Little
Calamity
Pip.
began to smile. Oh, I bet I could fix that for you. For what? Say, a 10% discount on ammo. I thought Velvet Remedy would have been proud of him for that. The Colt school eyes lit up, literally, as he asked. Definitely, if you're sure you can do it. Calamity laughed. With the number of times I've broken into them things at Pilgrim, I reckon it might just do my karma some good to fix one up for once. He gave me a wink. Our earlier conversation still hung in the air, but it was good to see Calamity in brighter spirits. Calamity rubbed his hoof on
Yeah,
the Colt's
just
head.
swindle the shopkeeper.
Don't
That'll
worry.
help.
Uncle Calamity will have it taken care of very quickly. He flew over the counter and trotted back towards the modified Iron Shot's ammo emporium vending machine, leaving the ghoul coat staring at him in disdain for a moment. I'm a century older than you.
Only a century?
So, what can you tell me about this place? I asked Caliber, the 12-decade-old Canterlot ghoul in the body of a Colt, as he watched Calamity work. He had half of the machine taken apart already, and occasionally graced us with a yep or a dag-nabbit. It's a gun shop, Calamity snarked. I sell guns, and usually ammo. I mean here at Stable City, I clarified. We're new around here. Caliber put on airs of false surprise. Really? You mean there haven't been 2 breathers living in Stable City that I just hadn't noticed? I brushed it off, asking, how did a group of ghouls end up living in a stable? Caliber sighed, quickly giving up on deflating my desire to pester him with questions. Stable 1 was built to protect the princesses, the nobility, the government officials, and the higher-ups of the ministries. Or at least that's what Stable Tech told every pony.
So basically the most worthless people, aside from maybe the princesses.
They built Stable 1 in this building because apparently the top ponies of Stable Tech and the Ministry of Wartime Technology were real chummy. Well, yes. They were sisters. Anyway, when the pink cloud came, a whole bunch of ponies from all around, mostly from the castle and the ministries, tried to gallop over to Stable 1, hoping they could get in. After all, while they were safe from the pink cloud in the ministry buildings, except possibly for the Ministry of Peace, only Stable 1 had a long-term food supply. It was coming here or starve. Of course, all those ponies had to run through the cloud to get here, and a whole lot of them didn't make it. Those who did found the fuckers already in Stable 1 closed it early. They were once again trapped in a safe haven, without food, and then most of them expired overnight, having suffered just enough exposure to turn them into ghouls. They didn't need food anymore after that, so it all worked out. Chromatic Justice and Stable Tech pretty much killed all the ponies in Stable 1. The ghouls already started a town inside the building by the time it opened up. When they added the resources of Stable 1, the town became Stable City.
Wait, what did he say? Chromatic the fuck? Hold on.
Food anymore after that, so it all worked out. Chromatic Justice and Stable Tech pretty much killed all the ponies in Stable 1. The ghouls already started a town inside the building by the time it opened up. When they added the resources of Stable 1,
I have
the town
no
became
idea what
Stable
that
City.
means.
I listened intently. How about you? I asked Caliber once he was done. He groaned. Are all breathers this nosy? Yeah, I said, just because I could. Fine. I was born in Stable 3. Stable 3 was constructed underground. He looked at me expectantly, then sighed when it became clear I didn't know how big a deal that was. You think the pink cloud out there is bad? That's nothing. You go underground, to any of the sewers or maintenance tunnels under the rails, and you'll see bad. Then, being a breather, you'll die. It's solid pink down there. Down there, the pink cloud's alive, and hungry. It's only a matter of time before it finds its way in. That got a jump from me, followed by a look of disbelief. Of course ponies like you scoff. The one alicorn over tried talking to us instead of attacking us scoffed too. But I tell you true, pink cloud's alive down there. I've heard it's breathing. Caliber shrugged. Then the colt ran off in breathless rapid succession. Anyway, pink cloud got me. I died, became a ghoul. So did my parents. Pink cloud ate Stable 3, so we came here. Then the alicorns came and killed my parents. Now, it's just me. Which is fine, 'cause I'm old enough to be your grandfather's great-grandfather. I run a gun store. I sell guns and ammo. Usually. Ta-da. We've come full circle. Question time over now. Calamity had stopped his work and was looking at me with a knowing expression. While Caliber wasn't looking, he mouthed, "We need to talk." A dragon? Yep. Calamity claimed as we trotted towards the open door of Stable 1. A big mammoth behemoth super old dragon. Just beyond stretched a large open area of the ministry building which had once been used for processing. But the ghouls had converted it into some sort of liberal arts common room.
Cool.
A two-pony band had started playing, one on a glass harp, and the other on a glass harmonica. The music that floated through Stable 1's entrance was beautifully haunting, crystalline, and strangely disorienting. It was the music of ghosts.
Cool.
How is the pink cloud a dragon? I asked, confusion overcoming my initial shock. Well, it's not. Not quite exactly, anyhow. Calamity struggled. It's weird, okay? Look, you know how the zebra balefire bombs work, right?
Yeah.
Take a balefire egg and weave it into a megaspell.
Yeah.
Talisman thingy. Something like that. Anyway, the pink cloud megaspell was the same way. It took a bunch of those things they use against Littlehorn, which best I figure are essentially like water talismans, only for pink cloud. And they wove them into a megaspell talisman thingy. Okay.
How do you
I
know
said,
this?
nodding. I was fairly sure I was following what Calamity was saying better than he did. But how does that... Well, if you want to build a talisman that's going to last a long time, or at least last long enough to kill someone who you really hard to put down, what do you make it out of? Oh. I had a sinking feeling in my gut. You use gemstones. I paused as we reached a water fountain. Stable 1 had a functioning water talisman. I tested the fountain, holding my pip-buck leg close to it, but there was no sign of contamination. I ran it a bit, but there was no hint of pink either. Yep, Calamity said as I gulped down water from the fountain. It was not quite a true substitute for food, but It would do for now. This pink cloud megaspell talisman was just chock full of gemstones. I saw where this was going now. The dragon ate it, didn't he? Yep, and the dragon's a she. The dragon that guards the royal treasury, to be exact.
How the fuck do you know this?
As we reached the entryway, I paused, observing a glowing terminal. My curiosity got the better of me. Hold up, I asked Calamity. I poked at the terminal, and was surprised to find that it had already been hacked, and the information on it was freely available to any pony who was interested. The information consisted of a single audio file. I downloaded it to my foreleg. Turning back to Calamity, I commented, "Okay, now the secret passage makes sense." "How'd you figure?" "Well, Princess Celestia's school was obviously using baby dragons for something. Well, they had to come from somewhere," I reasoned. "I think the princess had some sort of arrangement with the dragon. She got the biggest horde in Equestria, and the princess got, well, her children.
That's dark.
The royal treasury dragon was Mommy." Calamity nodded. "Well, seems the dragon digested the megaspell or something. It changed her, became part of her. Right now she's asleep in the treasury, and she's snoring pink cloud." Well, fuckity fuck. I now understood how Canterlot's pink cloud survived after centuries of week-long rains, and why the cloud was so dense in underground passages. The cloud would have gotten into the secret passage, started eating away at its walls, and from there, it would have gone everywhere. Sewers, tunnels, you name it. "And she probably don't look nothing like a dragon anymore, either," Calamity mused. "You gotta figure, she's fused to a horde. The whole damn treasury." He
That
kicked at the metal railing next to the steps out.
Could have used that money.
"So much of a dreams of looting the royal treasury. Such a waste." I
Yeah.
rolled my eyes. Then
Yeah,
asked,
actually.
"How do you know all this anyway?"
Yeah!
Calamity turned to me. "'Cause while y'all were vacationing, I was stuck down in the hole with the crazy alicorn lady. Y'all just got a few minutes of Looney Town. I had that damn argument run through my head nonstop all damn night." He let out a loud nicker. "I picked up a few things from all of that." A sign hanging on the wall next to the stable's gear-shaped mall read, "Artistic Commons. No broadcasters, please." We stepped out through the open gear-shaped door and paused, hearing the music more fully now. I felt the urge to move aside somewhere, lay down, forget about dragons and necromantic clouds and everything else, to just listen as the ethereal tones moved strangely through my soul.
Soul music.
Calamity and I were still in the Artistic Commons, lulled by the music, when Steelhooves found us. The armor-clad ghoul trotted up heavily, stopping for us just long enough to demand, "Come with me." He was trotting back through the crowd of Canterlot ghouls before I even fully registered his presence. I struggled to my hooves, feeling sluggish, relaxed, and strangely off balance. Calamity stretched his wings, giving a few lazy flaps before lifting himself into the air. The ceiling of the processing area was 3 ponies high, giving him just enough room to maneuver between the maze of ghouls, easels, and displays from below, and the light fixtures above. Steelhooves kept a brisk pace, weaving dispassionately between the residents of Stable City. I had to wonder what it was like for him. He had expected nothing but poison, death, and monsters in the Canterlot ruins. And while those existed in great abundance, we had also found a pocket of civilization, a community composed of Canterlot ghouls like himself. As we started climbing one of the several flights of stairs, my stomach rumbled, again protesting my lack of proper breakfast or lunch. I distracted myself by putting in my earbloom and playing the audio recording from the Stable 1 terminal. The voice was very familiar, which made the beginning of the recording all the more jarring. There was a wetness in her voice. She had clearly been crying. But no more. Now, while the bitterness and sorrow remained, the hurt was gone, and a cold anger had nested in its place. "Hello, and goodbye. My name is Scootaloo. You probably know me as the Vice President of Stabletech, the company who designed and built the stable you've taken refuge in. But right now, I'm talking to you as one of the very, very, very many ponies you fuckers have murdered. You, the ministries, the heads of Equestria, the princesses, if you're in here. You killed us all with your stupid, senseless war. And now, I'm returning the favor. I'll admit, I gave a lot of serious thought to just keeping the door of Stable 1 from sealing properly, and letting you all die from whatever horror you hid yourselves from while the rest of the Canterlot ponies, and all the rest of Equestria, perished. All the ponies that we were unable to save. But that's the whole point of the stables. Above and beyond everything else, the stables are meant to save people. Yes, people. I'm happy to report that one of the stables has been built to save as many of Equestria's zebras as possible, the ones that you fuckers shoved into a dump and tried to forget about. And Stable 14 is currently housing many of Equestria's griffins. But the stables are mostly built to save ponies. Even ponies like you. It is for that reason alone that you're all going to live out the rest of your natural lives in Stable 1, as will your children, regardless of the conditions existing outside. I've seen to it that Stable 1 will not open so long as even one of you is still alive, which, if the princesses are in there, might be a very, very long time. No matter how fast Equestria heals, not a single damn one of you is going to get a profit from what you've done. Equestria is something that you ponies don't deserve. I hope your souls rot for eternity. Sealhooves led us to the border of Stable City.
Alright. That made me smile. I liked that.
A once rather drearily officious room labeled Ministry of Wartime Technologies, Subsidy Application Center, which had been converted into a defense position complete with turrets, armored wall reinforcements, and barricades with murder holes, and to a door that had been canvassed with welded armored plates. Steelhoof stopped, raising an armored forehoof and banging it against the door in 4 impatient raps. He waited for a moment, nickering softly to himself. "Steelhooves, what's all this about?" I asked, disquieted by the mood radiating from him. I noticed he was carrying a saddle satchel that he had never worn before. He didn't answer, still nickering. Just as I began to suspect he was counting, he stopped. Steelhooves opened the armored door and barged inside, passing a displeased-looking Canterlot ghoul who stood guard. Calamity and I followed. I waved to the guard as we passed, observing his battle saddle, armor, and the pitbuck on his leg. His broadcaster was turned off. I realized quickly the purpose of Steelhooves' knock. The guard did not return my greeting. Feeling a wave of depression, I noticed his pitbuck was not part of him. I suspected most of the pitbucks worn by ghouls of Stable City had been acquired from Stable 1, or the residents therein. With the right tools and knowledge, it was impossible to open a pitbuck and lock it onto a new body. However, the pitbuck technician stalled in Stable 1 should have both the tools and the documentation the Canterlot ghouls needed. I tried to buck up. Feeling morose about my leg was not going to help anything. The emotion didn't even make sense. As we moved forward, I found myself staring out at a wall of pink. We had exited on an upper mezzanine overlooking the atrium. Dim pink-tinted light flooded the once grand atrium. The cloud was thick enough outside that we would need to drink healing potions after making a run between each ministry building now. Down below, we could hear the sea of static from dozens of broadcasters hidden amongst the skeletons that littered the floor. Luckily, we were high enough to be out of danger. Feeling a flood of déjà vu, I moved up the railing and looked down. I had been here before. From this very spot, I had looked down into a much sunnier lobby as Applejack spoke openly with her old zebra friend, Zakora. I had watched, and my host had plotted Applejack's demise. I shied away from the railing with a shudder of disgust.
Yep.
Steelhooves was looking back at me from several yards ahead. "This way." The place our Applejack's ranger led us to was an odd little alcove underneath a sweeping stairwell. The door had long ago been removed, and a simple stained curtain hung in its place. Warm light poured out from underneath the hanging drapery, as well as above it and along the sides. Steelhooves knocked on the wall beside the curtain, this time almost reverently.
Oh, I pressed the wrong pause button. I'm sorry. Anyways, we'll continue this in the next video.